Welcome, Corrina. Welcome, Michelle. Well, I would just like to start by asking, what you guys think, what was your biggest takeaways from today? We'll bring everybody in, and you guys can. We'll start with you, Ginger. I mean, what was your biggest takeaway from today?
Oh gosh, what wasn't a big takeaway? I mean, I've got a list. Jamie talked about consistencies with her weekly updates, and that's so important to be able to do that. Corrina talked about putting people with their strong suits and to be able to match people up as far as learning. Kelsey talked about, the building a positive brand and what you need to do as far as building a branding roadmap. I can't wait to get hold of her roadmap. And Michelle talked about failing forward and building the community. I mean, there was just so many things that I took away from today. And like I said, I do probably a couple conferences like this a week, and I do hundreds of webinars. And so oftentimes, in all honesty, I will pop off and then pop back on. And I didn't leave it all today. So I think all of you ladies did a fabulous job. Great information. You spoke from the heart. And I think that's probably what my biggest takeaway. And I can't wait till we can do it in person.
All right, Laura, what are your thoughts?
Oh my goodness. I am just so proud. I just can't get over the fact of I'll piggyback off what Ginger just said. A lot of these virtual conferences that you go to, like you said, you kind of hit these lulls and you're like, I'll jump away. I'll do something else. I didn't feel that way at all. If anything, like in between meetings, I have it up and I'm like, no, I can't miss that. I want to keep hearing it. I mean, when Kiran was speaking about what she's doing at the company, I know she's not able to be on here, and Kelsey's roadmap, like you said, Ginger, I'm like, oh, I need to look at that. I want to print that. I want to have that. I mean, such valuable. I love when Jamie said, what's the best CRM in the market? The one you use, the one that you actually utilize, and getting out and mining your data and making sure that you're really analyzing and not having to go through these cycles. I mean, Michelle being genuine and telling the story of how it all started and where it's going and being present. And I mean, Corrina speaking about, and then of course, Ginger with the strengths. I mean, all this with playing to strengths and building your team and recruitment. My goodness. I mean, what wasn't covered? I mean, I mentioned this morning that this is literally a roadmap of success from top to bottom in every different situation over, how to be successful now and beyond. That is powerful.
Yeah, I think it doesn't matter if you're a brand new LO or a broker tuning into this, or if you've been in the business for 20 years. If you, watch this, take notes, and implement, what you guys have shared today, there's no excuse that you can't have success unless you're just not working hard enough, because the map is in front of you, the ideas are in front of you, the execution is in front of you. It's just a matter of, you doing the work. And we can't make people do the work, but we can give them the information that can lead them to success.
Absolutely.
Jamie, what are your thoughts?
I was just so impressed by the fact that I think every single person on today's panel was so authentic and so offered something so unique, but so valuable. I loved the fact that there was a common theme among us all, that I think we were all really confident about what we do best, but also very real. And I think if we talked about this on our Survive and Thrive a while back, it's like if there's something about this pandemic that we've all learned, it's that the world we live in now, we long to be ourselves. And I think our customers and our colleagues, they respond so much more to reality. And Michelle hit it so right. Be you. and we all are our authentic selves, and we're all comfortable as women leaders in this industry being comfortable in our own skin and sharing what we've learned. And most of us, I think, can safely say we've learned some of these things the hard way, right? But we're sharing what we've learned in the hopes that even if you pick just a little bit of what we've said here and it benefits you in some way, we're hoping that we can just bring some value to some of the folks in our business that are maybe coming up in the industry, or even those who have been in the industry a long time and they're just kind of looking to build their businesses or maybe just fine tune what they've already got. And I just loved that you could have tuned into any one of these segments and picked up something different, something unique, something valuable from every single person here. And it was just a really cool and a really powerful thing to see a panel of all women who all brought something cool to the table. And so I was just really excited and honored to be a part of this today.
Absolutely. And I think, I heard a lot of leaders say in the beginning of this, the COVID deal is, now you can decide what you want to do. Do you want to have the best pandemic of your life, or do you want to, sit back in the corner and pout because, the world's coming to an end and you don't know what to do? It's really up to all of us to, make that decision. And that's when leaders are forged. And that's when leaders, come out of, the darkness and into the light. And, I think it was the crash of 2008. There was a lot of companies that, came out of that darkness. I mean, a lot of you guys started, some of you started your companies from that. And
oh, look at that. That's a lot of names.
And you got a lot of different companies out there that came out of that and, are huge successes these days that, you wouldn't have thought. So it's just proof that when there's darkness, people rise up and leaders are born. And I think we've seen a lot of that. And I think this can help, some of those people that are watching this and maybe thinking, it's rough right now, but at least, we've all adapted and they can see that it's proof that it can happen.
Exactly. I'm one of those, I'm gonna have to re-listen to it. I'll probably listen to it in my sleep tonight. Like I go back, and I like to think and ponder. So I'm not always so I like to think and ponder as every single, my brain, if you can kind of see my face, I haven't done anything but listen to this and answer calls and emails in between, but I'm almost flustered with so much information that I want to go back and dive in and listen to it individually and really hear what everyone has to say, because even though you're there, I wasn't always present, so I like to be present whenever I'm listening in and being able to really take notes and go all in. So
yeah, absolutely, that's good advice for anyone that was watching or is going to watch. It's good to be present, take notes, and you'll with these events I've learned in the past, a lot of people came back to me I watched that thing the third time and I just learned so much more that I missed the first time or the second time because I was so in tune to the first
thing. Start your YouTube channel, Mitch.
Yeah, I know. I'm just trying to figure out the editing part, so I need to quit making excuses and get that done.
Oh, send it over. We'll edit it.
Can I say one thing?
Yes.
So one of the things I'm so proud about today and what's going on in our industry, I know Ginger will appreciate this, Laura will appreciate this, is back in the early 2000s, when I was still a slight newbie, one of the things I said when I first started my company is, what do I got to do to have people listen to me? And I don't mean listen to me as far as listen to me, do what I say, but, just being present. And I think I've told this story to Laura before is, being younger at that time in the industry and being around generally, early 40s, early 50s, white male, no one really took you seriously in the business period at all. So to see a panel of ladies and what's going on in our community, and Mitch, thank you so much for putting this together, is just so inspiring, because I said back then, what do I have to do in my mid-30s, where Michelle is now, put on my grandma dress, my grandma hat, or what was it back then, to get someone to pay attention to me, to think I at least knew a little bit about what I was talking about in the mortgage business. Yeah. And the last thing I'll leave is I'm already in hot water, because one of the things I talk to everybody about is I play, and me and Laura have talked about this, I play the grandma card because I was an early grandma. And, I was at a networking meeting with a whole bunch of guys. And I said, oh, snap, my grandson called me and he wants me I have to go pick him up from daycare. And they're like, you're a grandma? And I mean, from then on, I used the grandma card, and it got people to listen to me in my late 30s. And I'm still a grandma, and I still have to go home and answer to my grandson because he already texted me and said, holy cow, Grandma, you were 15 when you were pregnant with my mom? And I was like, because he always knows I was young, but he's 15 now, like 15. So, so to hear back 15 years ago when I first had him and had to play the grandma card for people to listen, to now see all the women in our industry and how much attention that women are getting, and Ginger to say the self-promotion, how can you do that and not be in the point where you feel like you're leaving people behind, or you feel like you're bragging too much, as far as to keep that going, because we've all paid our dues and we've all worked extremely hard to where we are. I mean, I was so nervous at the beginning because Jamie did so good. And I told my son as soon as I got off, I swear I used to do all the crap Jamie does. I swear I did. I swear I did. So,
Corrina, you're just at a different place now. See, that's the interesting thing. And that's the value of bringing this group together, because the importance of taking a group like this is that you are at different stages, right? Mitch mentioned it. You have some people that are at the beginning stage. Even Michelle mentioned it. Michelle says, I'm not originating anymore. I've gotten to the point that I can't originate. I need to work on the business. And Corrina, you're at that same boat. Now, yes, you're right. Jamie's in the trenches, right? Jamie's in the trenches, and she's at, and listen, I was in those trenches for many, many years. If you ask me now, some of the stuff that maybe Jamie's doing, I don't know it anymore. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that, because we all are evolving. We all are growing. We are all changing into these different roles. And that's wonderful.
That was powerful about it.
And now we're sharing it. We're sharing it with everyone out there, so that whatever stage they're at, we're helping them and lifting them.
I 100% agree. You guys have to remember, I'm 23 years into this business. I was a young corporate executive. I had to elbow my way into the boardroom for decades before I came back to the broker world and started something different. So for me, when I go out there and I put myself out there and things like this, I don't do it to brag either. I do it because if I elbowed my way for a seat at that table, and I can empower other people to not have to do that the way that I had to do that, the way that Laura had to do that, the way that Corrina had to do that, the way that Ginger had to do. If I can do that, if I can spare them that, then I've won for all of us. And I'll never, ever forget that feeling of sitting in a boardroom with a bunch of men in their 40s and 50s, being in my 20s, and having a lot of value to bring, but not being heard, simply because it was assumed that I didn't have anything that I could bring to the table. And now I'm establishing and asserting the fact that not only do I, but so do so many other people. And we're living in a different world. And it's an awesome world. And that's why this channel was so important to be a part of today.
Yeah, it's so funny, Jamie, you say that. And it just made me think of one of the first management retreats I went on years ago for a client I was working for. And I remember I had an idea. It's like, okay, well, we can do this. And the president of the company looked at me and he's like, you just earned your spot at the table. I'm like, well, I'm already here.
That's right.
Okay, so now I've earned it. But it's like that, and I think that's it as far as just being able to really provide that value that is being recognized more now. But it's still important to continue to support each other and to provide that. And that's why this is so valuable to be able to do that. I always joke, and a lot of us, my business started in 2008, my own business that I started with training. I've been in the industry longer, but I just always said, for me, it's like, oh my God, you started in 2008. It's like, yeah, because I've got tattooed on my forehead, too dumb to quit. Michelle.
I'm like, I feel that. And like a lot of people, I'm going to bounce off of that because a lot of people have, and even in Burgers Are Better, the men will be like, you had the balls to do that. And like, I'm like, yeah, like it's not even it's not about ball. It's like, I have a mission. I have a thought process. I have something to give other people. And like, it's not about whatever you want to call it. It's like, and you don't know how many of the powerful men in there have called me and said, I can't believe you had the balls to do that. But I mean, Matt Ishbia for one, where I called Matt Ishbia and I'm like, hey, will you be on this? Like, call for me. And they're like, what, how? And I was like, it's not a big deal, and it's only because I'm like, you have something to give, let's do it. And so I really think a lot of people think too much. And I overthink afterwards a lot, but like I kind of flipping forwards to it. So like, just too dumb to know better. I didn't know that was not acceptable.
Ask for forgiveness, not permission, honey.
Well, Michelle, I'll kind of play off of that. When I started doing this, people were always asking me, what are you doing? Like, are you a broker? Are you a loan officer? Like,
I answered that how many times?
And I'm like, well, this is what I do, And when I reached out, one of my first events, I had Steve Sims, and, he was one of our, speakers, and he was, I reached out to him and he was like, who are you? And what, he was just the, keynote speaker at Mastermind in Vegas. And he's like, who are you? What do you want? And I tell him, and he was like, no, I'm okay. And then I, just chatted up with him. And then a couple of days later, he's like, you know what, let's do it. And the next thing I know, he's, being my keynote on, on something he's never heard about. So it's just about, like you said, doing what you feel you need to do right then and there, and you can, kind of second guess and worry about yourself afterwards. That's kind of the way I do it. Well, we'll figure that out later.
Oh, figured. I apologize. But no, I want to say that because I mean, and I get that from a lot of, and so I just say be fearless as be fearless as you fail forward. And that's my biggest thing is, be mindful of other people, but also be fearless in the pursuit of, if you're doing something good for the greater people, then, it's scary. It's scary for all of us. I still get butterflies every time I talk. I still get, that's just, I think a common part of it. So it's just to work through those things. Like minutes before my mind goes blank, I'm like, oh, I don't even know what I'm talking about, and so, but you just have to work through those things. You have to keep pushing forward, know that you have something to give. And if you have a passion behind what you want to give, it will shine through to other people, and don't let other people scare you. Like, if I had to call Bill Gates, I would. You know what I mean? Like, it's just the kind of person I am. So
he's just a person, Michelle.
He's just a person.
Just like all of us.
Yeah, and I'd be like,
it doesn't matter if they're CEO of a large company or a salesman. They're all, like you said, they're all people. If you have the same mindset and the same mission, then the connection's good. And that's.
This is what I go about how you perceive other people is how you, so obviously in your brain, you have a upper lower level of other people. So when people look at other people as untouchable or whatever, so in their brain, the way I think about it is they think of themselves as higher or lower. I don't have that. So like, I treat every single like it's all the same. Every single person, whether I meet you at the grocery store, you have something valuable. Like, and there's nobody that I meet that I can't get value from. And so what people are doing is they're blocking in their own mind of this. I have a higher or lower level of other people. And so that's why they view other people that way. And so I just don't walk around like that. I look at every single person that I meet as valuable, and I figure wherever they at in the chain, like they have something to give to everyone.
Yeah.
So.
I think a lot of people feel they have to be at a certain level before they can reach out to people at another level.
But it's their own mind block.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. There's nothing stopping you from making a connection with anybody. And that's kind of what I like to do is just, connect with people and then connect people with other people and products and services and education, obviously. So that, you know, I'm definitely on the same mindset as you. So
yeah, I went to people are like, who is this Mitch guy? I'm like, just listen. You know, just,
I don't know who he is. I don't know what he does, but listen.
I'm like, you know, and so it's like, I don't know, but he seems valuable. Like, go all in. And so that was, you know, over a year ago, and you've done, you know, nothing but great things on all sides of everything that I can see. So
I appreciate that. So anybody else have anything else they want to add before we say goodbye?
Let's go close some lens. Y'all saw UWM. Jamie just posted about it. UWM Conquest, cash out Conquest.
And the lock extensions aren't as expensive.
Get some stuff done.
Sounds
Oh,
good.
bring some families home.
All right. Well, I just want to say thank you to everyone that participated today, as a speaker, as a sponsor, of course, as you know, those that are tuning in. We will definitely leave this up in the group for anybody that, you know, wants to rewatch it or catch up on it. For, you know, we'll leave that up there for a couple days for people to catch up and you know, go through everything, take notes, and start implementing.
Can we share it?
I'll have to pull it out of there and get it into videos before we can do anything with it. So that'll be my plan after a couple days of, you know, it being in the group.
Great. Yeah, we'll want to grab some sound bites and be able to share some of the content as well, if possible. That would be fantastic. Well, thank you guys for being with me today.
Great job, everyone. Thank you.
Company.